force, now we going hard cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews and cash from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're leaning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like brand, practicing his dot game, give it to you easy like you're Resi in a bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time, now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like now fight planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call, can a podcast really be all that? Of course, how do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 207 of the Trinity Force podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I am your host for this lovely evening, lovely morning on your drive into work, lovely walk into school, whatever it may be. Thank you so much for listening to the Trinity Force podcast and being part of the Trinity Force network. So I'm joined by a great group of guys. There's 4 of us with me this week. DeClaude is here.
Howdy.
Chira.
Hi.
Punch.
Hey, buddy.
And Daze is here as well.
Hey.
Hi, Daze. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to go jump right into a couple of news items like we normally do every week. The first and foremost is you have only 2 more days left. Unfortunately, when this podcast comes out, if you're not listening live, it's too late for you to enter. But at the end of the day, actually it's not. So if you hear this podcast on the 31st, the morning of the 31st, you have until 5 p.m. that night to enter on the 31st of October, Halloween. Gatherer's Granola has given us tons of granolage to give away. 6 bags of granola, $10 in RP, and a Trinity Force podcast t-shirt. And to enter that, you go to facebook.com/T-Force podcast. And you guys have probably heard, if you've been a loyal listener to the podcast, that Gatherer's Granola makes the best granola in the United States. Actually, I'll go as far as saying in the world. Like, their granola is just so good. So good that Chiro went broke buying it.
Yeah, if you win the contest, if you win the contest, make sure to take a picture of all the granola you win and then send it to Chira. He'll love that.
Yeah, tweet it at Chira Jaden.
And by love that, I mean he'll probably cry.
Yeah, because I don't get to eat it.
It's like the tweet I sent out earlier is that, hey, can you guess what Chira's doing? And it reminded him to eat. So it doesn't matter if he's right or wrong. It's Chira's eating. But if you want to be like Chira and you want to eat some granola, go to facebook.com/T-Force podcast. Go sign up. All you do is you click the little Gatherer's Granola. There's says T-Force Granola giveaway on the page. So give us your email address, like the Facebook page, like Gatherer's Granola, press enter. We swear to God we're not going to sell your email address to anybody. Just it's kind of like one of those to verify you're a person. And you can sign up and you can win. And thank you so much for Gatherer's Granola, best granola in the United States. We love you guys.
When do we announce it? The winner?
The following podcast that Monday.
So Monday. All right. So stay tuned Monday.
Right. So somebody in the Twitch chat, give that guy a link. Facebook.com/T-Force podcast, please. Somebody who does not have a mechanical keyboard, type that in there. Other than that, if you guys have not played in Battle Arena, starting on November 1st, I don't know if that's actually the date of the first Battle Arena, but the first week of November, we're going to start giving away $10 for every single Battle Arena every week. That includes Oceanic, that includes Europe West, it includes NA and Bronze. It's like $40 a week in money we're going to give away to you guys for playing. But you only can win it if you make the best play, you make the flashy play, or you have the biggest improvement. Like, there's going to be different things every week, but it's a way to give back to the community, way for if you guys really want to help out. If you want to give us money to donate, you can go donate to it. Donate to us and give us money. But we're trying to give back to you guys. We have money to give away, and we really want to make people better at this game. And I've had a couple inquiries about, hey, I'm Platinum, I'm Diamond, how do I play? Well, go check out Game Victorious or Victorious Gaming and go play in their tournaments, because they're going to give you money for free as well. So after you graduated Battle Arena, your next step is to go beat everybody's ass in Victorious Gaming tournaments.
So how are we gonna pick the? Is it gonna be like hashtag BA Big Plays or something?
We're gonna probably, it's probably gonna be like T-Force Arena, like hashtag T-Force Arena or something.
Okay.
I don't know. It's gonna be more on the casters to start with, because we,
Okay, they'll decide.
There's like 15 to 30 people who watch every Battle Arena, depending on the night and the time and who's casting. You get it.
Right.
And we get 200 to 300 to 1,000 views on each YouTube over time, and I can't wait for people to watch the YouTube. So it's definitely a chance to tune in live, help people figure it out. And if you're playing in the game that night, you could win $10 in RP for just joining up and getting better at the game. Like, the whole point of Battle Arena is to get better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's why you could join.
That is my 6-minute spiel. And now we're going to jump right in there as I finish my last piece of beer tonight.
Your last piece of beer?
Last piece? Yeah.
Yeah, I got a whole other one that I already cracked open earlier, so we're going to go into that one too.
He's got them in a pie shape or something, so they're in pieces.
He froze them and started eating them like ice cubes.
That would be amazing. Can you figure out how I can do that? Can you?
Yeah, sure. I'll put it right on my list of the other shit that you want me to do. Yeah.
Beer popsicles can't be hard.
Yes, it can.
I was going to say, yeah, it should be hard.
I tried.
Can't be hard.
But guys, so tonight we teased it on episode number 206 of the podcast when DeClaude wasn't here, but we had started talking about playing to win. At the end of the podcast, we kind of teased and about, what rank you should be if you're giving advice and the scrub mentality and all these little things. So if you guys haven't checked it out, there's Sirlin, SIRLIN.net. He has an article out there called Playing to Win, and he has actually a whole book that he wrote that you can go and read. And we're going to talk about pieces of that book tonight, or really the overview of the entire book. And it's what it does is it starts out, and this is a way to help you guys play better. So we picked this up because we had Sir Tesla, he wrote it a few weeks ago and said, I feel like I've learned everything about League of Legends. Help me get better at this game. And really, if you haven't read this article, this is like the perfect article to read if you have the same question. Because it teaches you that you really don't know everything at every point. You're not taking advantage of what you can take advantage of. We're going to get into that. So that's the overview of that. It starts out and basically says that there's a thing called the scrub mentality. And every one of you listeners out there has probably had it at one point in time. I know I have. And
I definitely have.
Yeah.
I think everybody has. I don't think you've played this game and not had it at some point in time.
Or any game.
Or any,
yeah.
Any
right,
game.
exactly.
The scrub mentality is to be so shackled by self-imposed handicaps as to never have any hope of truly being good at the game. Meaning, you're playing Street Fighter, and somebody throws you, and they throw you again, and they throw you again, and they throw you again. You're like, that's so cheap! Oh my god, I can't believe they keep doing that! Why are they resorting to cheap tactics to beat me? That's a scrub mentality. Or
Cannon
in League
Rush
of
in
Legends.
StarCraft 2.
Right, that cheese,
Zergling Rush,
delicious
Cannon
cheese.
Rush, Warcraft, tower rushing as well with like humans walking up putting a tower so they can't go walk out and get to camps. Every little strategy in any game that beats you and that you complain about means you had part of the scrub mentality. Whether you actually adhere to that or you write into the scrub mentality, it's a part of it, and that's a cause. And so this whole article goes in to explain about what the scrub mentality is and how to play against it. And I would say the TLDR is you need to play with what the game has given to you, because the game only understands winning or losing. The game doesn't care that you threw the person 16 times in a row and won the game. And that's pretty much opens the conversation up at this point. So yeah. I'm going to start this out. What do we see in League of Legends that we see people play days? I'm actually going to leave this up to days. You don't play Thresh. You don't play Leona because it's the scrub mentality.
Right. I actually I've read this several times before, and it's something that, like, the first time you read it, you're going to read it and think, like, oh, that's not me. Like, I don't do that. And then you're going to get into game. Like, after our Monday podcast, we went into game, and, like, 4 or 5 times we called each other out on it. Like, twice Adam was like, that's bullshit. And we're like, all right. So, like, we all do it all the time, and you don't realize you're doing it. But one of the things is just we as a community put all these rules on how we expect the game to be played, and a lot of times it's based on the high level pro team 5 mentality and their play style and how those games need to be played, which is really different than solo queue. It's a lot different than pretty much anything, and there's a lot of pressure from the community also. If you play OP champions, you get bitched at. If you don't play OP champions, you get bitched at. If you split push at Master Yi, you get complained about.
If you pick LeBlanc mid lane and you crush somebody, you're an asshole.
Right,
or
exactly.
if you play Annie during the time that she
cheap.
was just super powerful, like if you didn't ban her and you played her, you're an asshole and you played her. But the game allows you to do it.
Right, exactly. And Riot's really good at fixing things that are actually broken. They're really good at seeing something and going, this is not okay, this is giving it an extremely unfair advantage, and they'll go in and they'll fix it. And even they said that they've gone a little bit too far sometimes, and when we had Ghostcrawler on, he said that they're kind of try to let more of that innovation slide through so that we can kind of customize the game the way we want it rather than it be kind of shackled by their vision of it. And part of that is, like, I don't play meta champs. Adam was telling me the other day to play, to go ahead and play Lulu, because of all the champions that League of Legends offers, you'd think that would fit my playstyle really well. But when I first started playing League, I started playing a few months before the end of season, or before season 3 preseason. So a few months before that started, and right around that time is when Lulu was huge, and she was spammed, and she was in every game, and I was like, fuck it, I'm not playing her. She's played too much. I don't want to play her. Thresh was the same way. I hate playing champions that are popular, and I hate playing champions that are really strong. And if they're OP, I'm never going to touch them. That's just how my mentality always was, and there's no real reason for it other than...
Well, you want to prove that you are a better player
without having too much of an OP champ.
Right. And that's just kind of how I've always played. But in doing that, all you're doing is you're shackling yourself by invisible rules. So there are rules built into the game to make it fair for both sides and things like that. And all you're doing is creating more rules that put yourself at a disadvantage and a handicap. So you'll never see... There are some higher elo players that stream. I know Impact is one. He's a support, and he doesn't like playing the popular supports either. But most of the... You don't go into an LCS game and see every single pick as an off-meta pick. Like, they're going to play who's strong. They're there to win. They're there to compete, and that's what it is. And if they're going to use the
same 15, 20 champions or whatever every time we watch a pro game.
Right. Absolutely. So it's all about not creating barriers for yourself. When you sit down and play a chess game, no one ever goes, I'm just not going to use my queen. It's too strong. It's stupid. I'm not going to use it. Nobody does that. And it's the same thing in video games.
Yeah, the word is try hard in the League community instead of...
So
it's a try hard
when you're leveling up, that is
mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. You hear that so much when you're leveling up, and it becomes this negative connotation.
Well, you also hear it so much when
you're
playing normals. Like, like this asshole is tryharding so much. My nickname for a really long time when I started playing this game was Tryhard Jaden, because I would, and it wasn't because I'd pick things that were OP. It's like I would try to crush everybody in every lane every time, no matter what. Even if I was playing against bronze players, even if I was playing against whoever, like I just wanted to beat the hell out of people.
Growing up playing fighting games, the scrub mentality has actually worked on me. Like, I would do the cheap shit. I would play King in Tekken, and I would just do his little slide kick repeatedly over and over again until they died. I would do the little sweep kick with, I would just do whatever's cheap.
Charge move. The
little soldier. So I would do whatever cheap move. I would just abuse it until they figured out how to play against it and to do something else. And my friends, they had that mentality, like, man, that's cheap as shit. And then I would get guilt tripped. All right, I'll try doing something else, and then I'd lose. And I'd be like, I should have just done the cheap shit. So it's worked against me.
That's on the complete opposite of you right nowadays. I have for a while now only played meta champions, particularly in the marksman role. My top 3 AD champions are decided by the meta. I just change based on whatever I feel is the strongest at the time, and whatever I feel is strongest at the time is usually the one that's most played and has the highest win rate. Another time that I heard a lot of try-hard screams and shouts of agony was last weekend during Hexakill. If you played Hexakill, you might notice a lot of people playing Cat, and a lot of people complain about people playing Cat. I was one of those people. I don't give a fuck. I played Cat, not every game, because sometimes one of my teammates would pick Cat, but if I didn't have a Cat on the team, I felt obligated to pick Cat, because she was so strong, and I wanted to win, damn it. And you know what? I got a Hexakill, so whatever.
Oh, nice.
And if you don't pick Cat and the other team does, like, that
big disadvantage.
Yeah,
that's why I felt like I had to pick her. In the one game that we needed an AP melee champion that I didn't pick Cat, I'm like, I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna try a Kali. Got fucking stomped.
Sure.
Never picking a Kali again.
Because she doesn't do well in that mode and in the rules that are imposed on you. But in through this article, Serlin keeps talking about his next point is it's not fun to play that way. And legally, so most of this article, if you don't know Serlin, he's a fighting game guy. Right, like that's the entire thing, and it really does apply to fighting games the most because a lot of people, it takes a really long time to understand how to play a fighting game. I don't know how many of you guys in the podcast, actually I do know how many of you guys in the podcast play fighting games, but for the sake of the argument, I don't, okay? I don't know how many of you listeners out there, the absorbent number of you that actually do play fighting games and whatnot, but there are, like I said, throwing, dragon punches. You might find that one move is better than the other, and you feel like you should only use this move because it's hard to execute. But if it's not fun to play, then it's not fun to use. And I actually find myself walking into this quite a bit when it comes to League of Legends, because when I was playing with Punch and somewhat Shira Jaden in the early of Season 4 when we were playing the Ranked 5s, I hated playing. I love Shyvana, right? Like, do you guys remember that Season 3?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was all up on Shyvana, and then she started becoming meta in Season 4. And
Right.
Shyvana was no longer fun to play because everybody played her. Mundo, I hated playing Mundo. I hated playing Trundle. Even Nasus doing something. Like, all those that were so boring to me to play that I understood they were powerful and why they were powerful at the time, but they weren't fun to play. And again, that still is the scrum mentality, because at the end of the day, you should play this game to win the game and get the highest elo that you can. You should play this game you're playing the game to win and learn and get better. So you should play what is powerful and what works for you. And I hate looking at this and say it's not fun to play, because I want to go over here and say, listen, if you want to play Master Yi top and it beats all these things, go for it. But when you get into 40 minutes in the game, suddenly Master Yi's, he is as powerful, but Shyvana was just as powerful as Master Yi was at that point in time.
Well, what you should do is you should pick up the meta. Even I kind of have Day's mentality here. I'm on her side with I like the off meta picks a little bit better. But I don't pick them because they're off meta. I pick them because they have characteristics that appeal to me, that I like. Like, for example, Spartans are the most badass warriors in history. They've won every single Deadliest Warrior episode that I've seen, season. So I figure Pantheon is awesome. He's one of those, I want to play Pantheon, and that's why I like Pantheon, just because he's modeled after a Spartan warrior. So he's cool looking, he's neat. And that's kind of why I do it. But when a champion becomes really powerful and meta, and this is the reason I own all the champions as well, I play them. I play them till I know their ins and outs. And then that way I know my enemy, because I know they're going to be picked against me, and then I try to figure out how I can beat that champion. But I'm still stuck with the scrub mentality, and I have a hard time getting over it because, like Adam was saying, if I find that champion just boring or just doesn't fit, even if it's powerful OP, even if I can destroy with that champion, I'm still not having as much fun as I would on a champion that I think looks cool, for example.
An off-meta champion can still work if you played enough and you're good with it. I don't think the article was saying that you need to play the strongest champions. I think it's saying that you should take every advantage that you can. And if you're just picking a champion that's strictly worse than another one, then you're putting yourself in a disadvantage.
Well, if you're handicapping yourself, if you're good at Ryu in fighting games, for example, but you decide to pick DJ because he's pretty much the same but worse, and I know that only resonates with a number of you guys, but you're handicapping yourself on a self-imposed rule because you don't want to play what is powerful.
I think what's really important here is that once you get deeper into the book, and I really think that like later on we should cover some of the other chapters in the book because there's some really good information, but it's not just about playing what's really powerful. Like, if you prefer a certain champ, then play a certain champ, but it's also about strategies. It's about taking advantages that you can. For example, Season 2, when they made some changes in the jungle and the leashing started, where the mid lane hit it once over the wall and then ran away.
Right.
That wasn't something that was intended. That wasn't a design when they made the jungle. That was something that someone figured out. It was a cheat in the game, and it just became part of the game. There are numerous things in the game like that. The level 2 golems, when they had the golem spawn as early as the large camps, the bot lane would go ahead and take
clear it early, right?
Yep. Bot lane would take the level 2 golems and get into lane and get level 2 first. Like, that was a cheat move to do, but it won you lanes. So don't do things just because you think that they're not acceptable or not fair. Like, this isn't, we're taught when we're really young that everything has to be perfectly fair. But at the end of the day, there's
you need
cheating.
to take what advantages you can get.
Right, there's something to win. Like, if you're hacking the game, if you're changing files, if you're doing something like that, like this Ash thing that happened. Yeah, if you're DDoSing people, right, that's cheating. That's different.
When you're in the confines of the game and everybody has access to it.
Exactly.
It's different. It's a little different, though, when you have blue side and red side, but you still did it because it was in the confines of the game. You weren't breaking rules of the game to gain an advantage. You were just using what was given to you because you were on the right side. Like, it's a little different league there.
And It's different too when one of your teammates is going to like every action that you take in the game, your team in one way or another is going to feel the ramifications of that action. So say you're that mid laner who didn't go and grab effect. Yeah, say you're that mid laner that didn't go and grab like blue by hitting it over the wall to help your jungler get an easier leash. You were really, really fucking your jungler over and then yourself over if they weren't able to gank for you. So like in a game where you have people on your team, there can be like far-reaching consequences for any decision that you make.
And it's simple things that, like, if you split push Master Yi in bronze, like you're called a noob, you're called all these stupid things, and people scream. Or if you camp a lane,
base roll.
It's like pitch a tent. Why don't you? Exactly. One, right. But you know what? At some level, the thing about these things, cheese by definition is typically easier to execute than it is to counter. But there's always a counter, and Riot is really, really good about making sure that there's always counterplay to everything in their game. And if there's not, they fix it. So, for instance, split pushing. First of all, they're probably not executing split pushing in bronze properly anyway, so there's a really easy counter to it. And then you have options.
And push down the lane, right?
All you have to do is ward the lane they keep split pushing, and either if he's too extended, then you collapse on them, or you group as 5 and you 5v4 the other team. It's not difficult. And then eventually, as you go up higher, then the counter to that then becomes having a disengaged team that has a split pusher. So then when you try to engage on them, they disengage and your split pusher can keep going. And that's the difference between those bronze levels and the higher levels, is that in bronze, those things are cheesy, they're cheap, they're not, they're not playing fair, they're not being sportsmen.
Playing a normal game of League of Legends where it's 5,
right.
You do your lanes, then you walk down mid and you play an Aram. In
exactly.
bronze, that's what it is.
And this, a great example of this too is like the old school early Shaco cheese where he would just sit and wait for you if you started blue in the bush. And I remember like leveling up or even, playing early ranked, all the players that were just so butthurt when they would die. And it's like, you knew there was a Shaco on their team, like they die. So, that's so cheap. Why would they give somebody something like that? It's like,
with a 5 teleport tactic and
or
I'm sorry, but bullshit. If like CLG or whatnot screamed about that, how many professional plays have we seen where they fought over blue buff for the first 4 minutes of the game?
Right.
Like if you played that in a solo queue game, it would be fucking. It would be the river would be full of tears.
I spec'd somebody playing a game, and they were playing ADC, and they were against a Vayne, and they didn't buy a pink ward at all game. And I said, well, why aren't you buying a pink ward? Well, because that's the ADC's job. I'm sorry, that's the support's job, is what their excuse was. They were playing ADC, they didn't buy a pink because it was a support's job. Well,
punch that guy in the face.
That's such a silly restriction to put on yourself. Like, you could win. It was a few months ago. Pink? It was a couple months ago, yeah.
Oh, still.
But it was in bronze.
Player.
It was during the vision changes were there, right?
PSA: if there's an enemy if there's somebody on the other team with any invisibility and you have some extra money, buy a pink ward and kill them when they use it.
Right.
I mean, there are clear counters,
right?
But things like the invisibility and the stealth, things like large AOE stuns, things like split pushing are all things that I honestly don't understand why they're not utilized more in bronze, because they're a really easy way to win a lot of games. But they're things that people don't know how to play against, and they just complain about. And you'll hear about it, and you'll get complained about if you're on the team that's doing it, get complained about if you're against the team. Right. Just mute them and just do it, because at the end of the day, like, you don't want to be playing with them permanently. It's not something that you're going to ever want to see. You're not going to play with them again. So it's not like it's your best friend and you're pissing them off. And it is your best friend and you're pissing them off. Then either they want to win or they don't. But you just have to remove those things from you, because there's so many things in this game that started out as bugs or cheese or things like that. And as you move up, split pushing becomes a viable tactic. It's no longer something that's complained about.
Sorry, sorry to cut you off, but
that's okay.
To talk more about the kind of the article. There's a thing he has, like, there's a bug too far. There's like good examples of changes in the game or unintended changes in the game or unintended bugs in the game, but are allowed to be used because everybody can use them. I'll go ahead and use the example that is in this article, and I'll also relate that to League. So he talks about in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where Iceman could use his super after a long combo, but he would fall too quickly and could not continue and hit the full super, or could not continue and follow the super after it hit, right? And the people found out if you canceled a move, that you would fall slowly enough that you could continue the super. And everybody has access to that, so it's okay. It's not a bug that game breaks. And to bring that to League, it's the bleaching blue buff during Season 2 and Season 3, was everybody had access to that. So that's okay. You can leash blue buff because everybody has access to it. But Riot, like Dave's brought up earlier, is really good about fixing this stuff. So, to bring this to you is when you look at something and you feel like it's too cheap, just think about it this way. There's no Akuma in the game where if that champion is not 100%, that champion does not have a literal 100% win rate. Like Akuma in this game, under hands of a skilled player is a 100% win rate.
If there's a strategy or a glitch in the game that is too powerful, Riot will disable it.
Yeah,
I mean,
look at
before. So
how many times have we seen champions?
If they leave it in the game, and there are glitches they've left in the game too before. I mean, I think there was an item, or maybe they were talking about Janna's shield, where they didn't intend for it to be used on turrets.
It's
Alistair.
The Alistair WQ.
Yeah, that too.
Or times
W auto attack. That was
Xerath.
But they fixed that. But the WQ is still there, because they're okay with it. Because if you
the
learn
W
how to do
auto,
it.
where you would see the animation for the auto attack after they land a mile away from you.
Yeah, Rise is another one that you can, if you build a tier on him, you can use your Q, and if you auto-attack and kill the minion before your Q hits, you don't spend any mana, but you stack your tier. Or Annie.
I didn't know that.
Or Annie,
and
if you...
resets.
Adam knows this about Annie, I'm sure, but if you stack her passive twice, then you shoot a Q, and you shield before the Q hits, your Q will stun them, even though technically it's only your third skill. Right. So those are all things that may or may not have been intended, but that people have found through strategy, and they found these little tricks and tips and things like that. Yasuo jumping over a wall, that's a more common, more recent one. His dash wasn't originally meant to go over a wall, but if you do it in the right spots in the jungle over a minion, you can actually go through some of the walls. A Nivea wall, if you put it over, you can actually see over walls. A Kali Shroud. There's a lot of things that give you vision that you wouldn't normally think. So there's bugs in the game that have just become commonplace now. So just because something's a bug doesn't mean that you can't or shouldn't use it. You should use everything available to you in order to win.
Well, a good way to look at it is as long as you're not... You know what? A bad bug, and I'll admit to you guys, I used it once, was the Zero versus Jace. We still lost the game for other reasons, but I was level 12 to his 7, because at the time, Azir could R through Jace's acceleration gate and gain 12 minions worth of experience and gold. That's a bug that you can't leave in the game.
Right, exactly.
Because it's an unfair advantage to the player who is receiving it.
You're getting
a small amount of vision.
You're getting 12 CS that the other team will never have the chance to be able to get because those aren't on the map.
They can't make it up.
You want to know one that I got yelled at a lot? I played a lot of Leona when I was in Bronze, and one that seems so commonplace to anybody that's in a higher level, but you don't realize how much it irritates people in lower levels, is the Leona ward killing at level 1.
Yes.
Oh,
where you really? Auto-Q auto. I got raged at all the time for. I've had people, I've seen it happen where people rage at it in the higher levels too. It's those things that seem commonplace as you move up because they just become part of the game and part of the strategy. Yeah, are just BM early in the game.
Really? Because you found out that you could auto right away after you
reset your auto.
You could reset your auto animation. Then they should be mad at people who know how to orb block properly because you're resetting your animation in the middle of your orb block.
And in that case, it's like the same thing. Like, it would be cheating if you were resetting auto attacks with Riven because that's how you do way more damage with her. Like,
right?
Yeah.
Or you can, like, when you Lux Laser, you can actually flash and reposition your ult, even though you're supposed to not move. Like, those are things that somebody took the time and figured out, and that's what makes a game like this rewarding. If they gave you, like, a script of exactly what you could and couldn't do, and there was no innovation, like, it would get boring, and it would get boring fast. And one of the great things about this is that there's a lot of strategy involved and there's a lot of innovation, and you can find these things, and some of it's going to be a little too powerful and they're going to tweak or they're going to rebalance the champion because they didn't realize that these things happened and made them crazy powerful. But
AP.
the point is, right. The point is that while it's there, it's available to you. There's nothing wrong with using it. And I think that's something that the League community doesn't really focus on. And you hear, a lot about OP champs and this and that and win rates. But no one ever tells you, like, it's okay to play by just the rules of the game.
I like that Riot. Your point 100% right. I like that Riot has actually taken this and they've said we're going to step back. We're not going to change stuff right away. We're going to we're going to try to let players fix this. And if it's too toxic, we're going to change it. Like the tower changes when we saw season 4 with the adding extra armor and whatnot and stopping that was toxic for pro play. Because all we saw was 4v1 split pushes into early games or, really boring 15 minutes of games. No one wants to watch that as a professional game. And no one ever wants that. Then everybody had to learn that strategy. So then you've pigeonholed your game into only one strategy because that's the only one that works as well. But I like the fact, barring those ideas, that Riot has said, we'll let players learn how to play into this. We're going to let Annie stay as powerful as she is, or Lucian as powerful as he is for this long time. We're going to maybe we'll make a tweak, but then players learn how to play against it.
There are a couple examples, and I forget what they are, where there was something that was seemingly very powerful in the beginning, and I think this might have come up in the Ghost Crawler episode too, and it's something that seems extremely powerful, and then later on, the players learn to play against it, and then it's not nearly as powerful. It's just that shock factor, the not knowing how to deal with it, and things like that. So Riot will nerf things when they don't really need to because there is an option for it. So yeah, they're going to be a little bit more cautious and let us kind of learn our own way. But that's part of why learning only by watching high elo players and not understanding what they're doing and their motivations behind it is difficult, because you're seeing the outcome of layer upon layer upon layer strategy. So if you're only seeing that high level team play, a lot of that's not going to relate to your solo queue bronze or silver game. So it's really important that you take advantage of the opportunities that you have without feeling like you're going to hurt someone's feelings.
That's a good point. And then, like you were saying, just to touch on the watching pro games and trying to adjust how you play. Ranked team group play compared to solo queue is a completely different game. Just keep that in mind.
Totally different.
You see them do all this cool shit, and then you go in solo queue and say, "Hey, let's do this!" Ping, ping, ping. They're gonna be
I'll go as far as to say that like plat and diamond solo queue is a completely different game than bronze and silver is. Like there are different games within this game, and there are things. For example, when I first started playing support, I played a lot of Leona and Janna and Sona, and I played very, very passively, and I played, like you'd see in one of the pro games where you just support and you just heal and, you do all these utility things. And I was asking a Diamond 1 support main who played a lot of Janna, I was like, how would you carry out a bronze? And at the time, Nidalee support was like really annoying and everyone hated it, but you could carry off of it. But everyone told you not to play because that's not a real support and you shouldn't play like that. And Lux was in the same thing. And I asked him and he's like, honestly, right. He goes, honestly, if I was in bronze, I would just play Nidalee and Lux. He said I'd be out of it in like a week. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's not the right way to play. But I spent like another 6 months in bronze. But there's different ways to play. And as you learn and grow, then you'll have to adjust and you'll have to play a little bit more team oriented. But you at the end of the day, as much as you have to play, and we always talk about supporting your teammates and playing as a team and things like that, you're playing for you to win.
Right. You're
not playing to carry them anywhere. You're not playing to teach them the game. You're playing so that you can advance to where you want to be.
And on the little Banhammer, when I was trying to get him and play him, I played Pantheon. I carried the fuck out of people with Pantheon. Because I knew how big of a bully I understood his limitations. His thing, I understood a champion so well in and out. Maybe not as well as DeClaude, but I understood it well enough that I could carry him really hard. I understood that I could be very aggressive early. I understood that I had a very amazing mid game, and then I was weak late. So I had to beat everybody in early and mid to carry myself in a solo queue environment, and that allowed me to transition, allowed me to play. But I also played it because I understood how other players played this game, because other players put
Right.
themselves imposed rules that I can't play this champion, or that I should be aggressive at this point, or that I shouldn't be going for dragon. You know, I
Or
could
they
go
don't
through it.
know whether to be aggressive or passive or whatever, and you snowball and beat the hell out of them anyway.
Well, that's a good point. Knowing your enemy champion's weak points and taking advantage of that, playing to win, may be cheap, but you know a champion is weak as hell.
It's never cheap.
Early
That's
game.
the thing. I want to make sure people understand it's not cheap to do it.
It's exactly. It's not bad manners. It's not cheap. It's not try hard, herp derp. It's just
Don't-
playing the game. So
I
take
would
advantage
say
of it.
Don't even phrase it as being cheap, not cheap, whatever. You phrase it as being effective or ineffective. Like if it's
Right.
effective, you
You're
get a
being
win.
Knowledgeable player.
You're right. You're being strategic. You know that this champion has a dip at this point, and that's when you turn on the gas. So
And every time you guys have written into us and been like, can I play this as support, or can I play this here or that here? We always tell you those disadvantages so that you're aware of them. And we never tell you don't play a champion in a certain place. And we'll tell you that it's going to be less effective the higher you go. And all cheese is, because when you're in bronze, you're going to get away with things that you won't be able to get away in silver. And people will learn and have seen it more often. So they'll know the counters to it. And then you learn the counter to their counter and so on. But with those things, you just have to understand your weaknesses and play to them, and understand your enemies.
Well, hell, what in our bronze boot camp this week we had that jungle Tarek that went 2-2 and 22.
Did we? I didn't see that.
It's crazy.
setting up his lanes.
Punch, do you have anything that I feel like you've been?
There's one aspect I wanted to touch on, and that was the thought of experimentation, and how you don't need to go balls to the walls every game, right? You don't need to join a normal game and then pick your meta champion and invade blue and try hard, in quotes, because there's no actual aspect of try harding. I think it's important to set aside time for experimentation, because that's how you find these strategies that we were talking about earlier, like flashing during Lux ult to reposition your ult, or long time ago when somebody thought of trying to use Janus Shield on a turret. Someone's like, herp or derp, I'm gonna use it on this turret that's under attack, see what happens. And I think it's extremely important to try those things. You can figure them out, and to also find champions that are strong, that people don't consider are strong, so that you can play them and, like we were talking about, ignore people that are saying, oh, that champion's not good, you shouldn't play it. For me personally, I feel like the best time to do experimentation would be during Team Builder. Like, Team Builder is my go-to if I want to try a new role or a new champion. And I guess Blind Pick would be as well, but I prefer Team Builder because that way you're actually guaranteed to get your role in your champion.
Yep.
There's actually a whole chapter in this book dedicated to that, and the difference between playing to win and playing to learn, and that in order to really play to win and be able to do your best in those, and again, he's using fighting games, so he's using tournaments as his benchmark, where we would use ranked. So in order to do your best in ranked, you really should take time to go and play in normals and kind of find out where your limits are, and find out all of these things. Like, someone at some point, the only reason that there is a meta is because when this game came out in Season 1, people played it and tried so many different things that eventually they found something that worked. And then in Season 2, when it was all farm lanes, I don't know, for all of you who have played that long, everything was you froze it in the middle of the lane and you farmed and you farmed and you farmed and you farmed. And then eventually the Koreans came and were so aggressive early game that they just snowball games, and we had no way, NA had no idea how to deal with it at the time. And, that's how you grow, is by trying different things in these games.
Well, to Serlin and, the people reading this book, fighting games are... This article, while it has a ton of information, does work best with fighting games, because fighting games do not get patched as quickly as Riot does. Like, there are champions in there. Like, they just added an Ultra Street Fighter 4. I mean, you go from Street Fighter, there was 3 or 4 editions. There was 4 editions of Street Fighter before Ultra, okay? And this latest one finally added something called Delayed Get Up, where you can stop people from understanding when to do their jump-ins and do safe jump-ins. And, like... I know I'm talking fighting games, but like they couldn't put you into what's called a vortex, so you had to react to what they were giving to you, and they knew how you were going to react because you had no other option than to react that way. It took them 4 editions to fix it. Riot would have fixed that in one patch in 3 weeks.
Right. And so that was actually this kind of concept was taken with the Dota community for a long time, where Dota may update like 4 times a year. And if something was overpowered, it was overpowered, but it gave room for people who were playing to try and figure out other overpowered stuff and learn how to beat the overpowered stuff. And I said the overpowered stuff in quotes because it might not even be that great if you know what else to deal with it. But it gave more time for the community to come up with their own sort of way to deal with stuff.
You beat me to the punch.
But as much as...
Sorry,
go ahead.
He beat me to the punch when I was saying that, with Street Fighter, for example, in this article, it gives people more time to really understand and what champions are good because, for example, El Fuerte in Street Fighter, Ultra Street Fighter 4 is actually amazing. But it takes like a really, really, really strong mechanical player to understand how to play this. Riven, same way. We had Box show us that Riven is super powerful in season 3, but you had to have super tight mechanics. You had to have great reaction times.
Low ping. Lee Sin.
Lee Sin.
Lee's a great example.
Zero ping Lee Sin with the insect kicks when he first started showing us that back in season 2. Like, there's types of things like that. Like, Riot back in the day, Riot still does give you a chance to really play against those. But if you feel that you are a player out there that has found something, you need to show the world that you found it in one way or the other, and that's by spamming it in solo queue and continually doing that idea or whatever it may be. Like, not everybody is going to adapt to this game as quickly as the other person. There is definitely people out there who cannot go from 0 to 60. They can go from 0 to 20.
Right.
There's 2 type of Rumble players in this world. Ones who can hit the ult, one who
ones
can't.
that are good and ones that aren't.
Azir is the same way. I'm good with Azir, but
I can't play Azir.
Some people can't play him at all, right?
Right.
And the fact is that some people are never going to be great at this game. Like, some people are just going to be mediocre, and you have to be okay with that. But as much as that's true about the patching,
that's where I was getting to playing for fun.
There's 2 things. Yeah. Before we get to there, back to the patching thing. There are 2 things that happen with that. First of all, again, most of our listeners on our player base are silver and gold. Bronze and silver. And I guarantee you that Amumu's been around for 4 seasons now, and Amumu's still seen as a cheap jungler in bronze. So just because we go and we change things, and nobody ever bans Amumu in plat, nobody cares about him. You just know you don't all stand up on top of each other during his ult. But he's overpowered in bronze, and it's not the champion, it's the play style, and it's the positioning and the awareness and all that. But 2, when you have these patches, and we have all these patches, how many times have we seen Riot push a champion over the edge to the point where they're stronger than they should be? And they have more of an opportunity to do that because we have more patches than you do in fighting games. So, like what is it called? The Relic Shield. I don't know a single person who didn't go double Targons in bot lane at the early, in the beginning of the season. Right. And there were people who said that it was stupid and wouldn't do it because it was OP and things like that. And that's fine, but you probably didn't win as many games as you should. So just because this is a article based on fighting games, you have to take away from it that you cannot impose your own rules on the game. Or you can, but you won't be as successful as you could have been.
Very good point.
I remember
imposing your own rules. Imposing your own rules is crippling yourself. Thinking that somehow you're immune to a cheap tactic, right? And it should never ever happen. And when it does, oh my god, let me be mad.
Punch, how many times did I yell about this person got fucking lucky, this and that, but I was playing something stupid in the top lane? I mean,
well,
give it to
it would be mean of me to say every game, so I'll just say every so often.
I'll say every game. I'll go ahead and say it for you.
Now, there was one thing I disagreed with, Days, was you saying that. Well, some people will never be great at League of Legends. I'm sure that's true, but listeners, please don't get the mentality that you're that person will never be great, because then you're already crippling yourself. You're saying, well, I'll never be good at this game, so I might as well.
I'm sorry,
just,
but I'm under the same impression. I mean, maybe Days doesn't think this way, but I'm going to assume that she does. That there are people out there who are just not going to be good at this game. I'm sorry, you can't be good at everything in life.
Well, it's true.
You shouldn't
stop trying.
If you want to be good at the game, don't have that mentality. Don't say, well, T-Force told me I may never be great because I've been in bronze for 2 years.
Yeah,
I'm the asshole that'll say if you've been in
then
bronze for 5 years.
I think everybody's got a ceiling, but it doesn't mean that everybody's stuck in bronze forever.
No, maybe they're just not doing. They didn't change their mindset. Maybe something has to click and go, oh. Okay.
I've only been playing this game for just over 2 years, and I was stuck in bronze for 9 months. Like, you can get out of it, and if you have the right mentality. But everyone does have a skill ceiling. So, at some point, you just have to, like, I'm never going to hit Challenger. I'm never going to be a pro player. Like, it's just the reality of the situation. And someday you're going to hit your skill ceiling, and you just have to play for fun, and you have to enjoy what you're doing, and you have to you have to be, as long as you know that you're improving, you can constantly improve and things like that. It's not necessarily about being number one, because there's only one. So chances are the other millions of us are just never going to hit it.
Save this episode for when we see Days on the LCS being interviewed.
Oh God,
no,
by Shucks.
Right?
Nah, I don't have the time for that.
I don't think any of us want to play that.
Never
going to
be pro.
You can do anything.
I was just saying before, like, I'm the asshole of podcasts. Everybody knows that. But, like, I'm a firm believer that if you've been in bronze for 2 or 3 years and that you haven't tried to get out of it, that you're stuck there, okay? Because you don't understand how to get yourself out of there. You don't understand what is wrong, and you're not willing to break the scrub mentality. Now, I will agree that any bronze player could eventually make it to silver or gold, whatever. I don't care. We could go as high as platinum, whatever, semantics. But if you've been stuck there for 2 years and you don't think you can get out, and you've written the podcast, we've given you advice, and you can't get out of there, then you are the quintessential person that should be listening to this episode right now and realize that you're putting self-imposed rules on yourself, and you are the reason you can't get out of there.
If you're stuck in a division and you don't know why you can't get out of it, and you're not trying anything new to get out of it, you're the reason why you're not moving up.
You know what? It's kind of like going back to like one of the first points about having the self-imposed rules. I played Annie and Lucian in season 3 to get to platinum. I was in bronze. Like, I'm the guy who started this podcast in bronze. Like, I'll admit I probably shouldn't have started a podcast, but I've moved up through it, and I've made it to platinum finally. And I probably could have made it to diamond this season if I tried, but I didn't. I ended the season in platinum, and that's fine with me. But when it was in season 3, I played the overpowered champions because I said, I'm going to play this game and I'm going to make it my bitch.
And you know what? For all of you out there who say, oh, well, if you're only playing OP champions and you don't have a real understanding of the game and you don't deserve it and this and that, and you're only getting there because you play OP champs, you know what? Even if you only get to plat, say Adam only got to plat because he played OP champs, I guarantee you that he learned more about how to properly play that game once he got into plat than he ever could have in bronze. So there is something, just because you
I wouldn't
get
have brought myself out of bronze if I wouldn't have never made it to plat if I didn't learn something about this game. If I didn't learn how to engage, if I didn't learn how to disengage, if I didn't learn how to take barons, if I didn't learn how to take towers, if I didn't
learn how to last hit, if you didn't learn how to control minion waves.
But you things if you're stuck and you can't win a lane because you're picking champions that just are so deep in the hole in terms of their viability in this game that you can't even win a lane, because then you can't learn all the other things, and you can't learn. Every person has a different way to win the game, and I win the games through communication and kind of controlling the game and telling people where to go. Adam just hundreds to zero people. It's just
that's exactly it.
There's just different ways to play the game, but you're not going to find out what your niche is if you're so worried about getting out of your lane, or you can't, team fight, or you can't. And at some point you just have to, the higher you go, the more you're going to know about the game, the more efficient you're going to be at doing it, and the more of those techniques you're going to do. So when I was in bronze and I thought I knew everything, I didn't know how to deal with split pushing. I didn't learn that until I got higher up. And then you have people that you're playing with, and you can execute strategies that you could never have executed in bronze. And it just gives you an opportunity to learn more. And there's something to be said about learning at a higher skill level.
You have to open yourself up. I agree with you there, and stop. It all boils down to this article, this piece of this book is, don't blame other people and what you can't control, what we've spoken about before. Look at yourself and see how you want to win. Mm-hmm. It goes into way more detail about it, which is good, but you're not going to have fun if every time you're like, they keep picking these champs or they keep doing these cheap moves, blah, 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 and I can't win.
Why is my Poppy not winning? I just want to play Poppy and win, but I can't do it.
Right after Scion was reworked, I played against a Renekton top, and he told me, there's no counterplay to your E. I can't counterplay it. And I was like, yep, you're right. And I totally kicked his ass.
That's when you just E them every chance you get.
Every time he would go back. And
if you want to talk,
easily
go
beat me. I was going to say, he could easily beat me. There were ways around it, and I was like, please don't figure out that you can slice and dice at me and kick my ass and take my health down
charging it up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if you're charging it up, he can W and stun you out of it.
You don't charge up the E. The E, you just toss a minion. Or just see where I'm at, and make sure you're not on the exact opposite end of that minion. Or just take it and eat the hit face head on instead of the minion hit, because then you'll take 50% less damage. So... so he mentally lost himself the game.
Any advantage.
Yeah, first of all, don't ever tell your opponent. The moment you tell your opponent in any high level game, stop camping my lane, they're going to just camp your lane the rest of the game. There's just no alternative to it.
Best thing I've ever heard said ever was this guy on my team was jungling and I was playing top lane once, and he kept camping the shit out of the enemy top laner, and the enemy top laner was complaining in all chat the entire time. And as we won the game, our jungler, the only thing he said the entire game, at the very end of the game, was complaining in all chat to the enemy team about me camping your lane is never going to not make me come back to your lane every chance that I can.
Because you're obviously on tilt.
Oh, he just, if you can take that one person out of the game, whether it be mentally or whatever,
done.
Huge.
You're motivating the enemy team. That's all you're doing. It's like anyone who played StarCraft, and I had 2 StarCraft accounts, StarCraft 2. I had one in Plat and one in Diamond. And part of the strategy that you're taught is BM. There is something to be said. That is an actual game strategy. So all you're doing is motivating the enemy team. I love it. I love it when the enemy ADC complains about the support, because you know what? I will target that support all day long. I don't care if I die doing it, because all that is going to happen is that ADC is going to stop what they're doing. They're going to stop CSing. They're going to bitch at their team for the next 20 minutes, and we're going to win. There's just nothing about it. And this last weekend... Warfare. Right. This last weekend, I played a ton of ranked games, and I was playing Kate Sona with somebody, and we got bitched at so much because Kate is such an OP champion. Apparently, I didn't get the memo.
Oh, okay.
But see, she's such a cheap, and she's such an OP champion and no skill champion. Who gives a shit if she has skills, as long as, okay, so it's not a high skill cap champion, but you're winning on her, so who gives a shit? And then we had people complain about everything. One person literally in a Plat Elo game said, "Fucking Nasus, OP champ, there's no counter to him." What about the first 20 minutes of the fucking game?
Dumb.
The entire first 20 minutes of the
play
game.
These games.
Yeah, right?
And it's just what happens.
Then you get assholes like me who I'll be playing top lane, and I really want my bot lane to succeed, or I know the dragon's up, and I will go in all chat man, pitch a tent, jungler, if I see him flash near the top to try to lure him to my lane.
Man, next level mind games there.
Okay, somebody in chat right now. Somebody in chat right now just said T-Force Podcast BM is a legit strat. Okay, I'm going to point this out to you right now. That as much as we practice and we try to practice and we preach that you should be really nice in the game, you should, as a person, you should be nice to other people.
Especially
you should be nice to your teammates. The enemy team, you still should not be spamming all chat, but there's something to say for the one line that you say.
There are certain times where 5 words will make the difference in somebody losing their lane if they're that upset.
I want to make it clear that the T-Force Podcast is not telling you to spam all chat and make the person really mad.
And don't rage. Rage is completely different. Rage is completely different.
We are saying that if there's a strategy to say one line, wah, with Chira, wah.
Sometimes if you know the enemy,
you just get so bad with the one.
Just give him one little push and you'll knock him over. By the way, BM is the number 2 strat.
Yeah, do something I had a friend who every time someone got first, if their team got first blood, he'd just type in all chat and he'd be like, "Sorry for your mid laner," or something like that. And it just pisses everybody off.
I love that. Oh god, I one time enemy on the other team was talking smack to his own teammate through whatever, and I'm like, yeah, man, how could he ever like do something like that? What a jerk!
Right, and
like,
you just egg them on, and it's just. And listen, we're not telling you to be complete assholes, and we're not telling you to rage. Don't rage, and don't ever be an asshole to your team, because that is the quickest way to lose a game.
Never.
If
ever.
you
honestly,
to your team, you're done.
What I'll tell you too is if you're going to BM the enemy team and they're not already raging in all chat, then you should mute them, because that quickly can get turned around on you.
Oh yeah,
because
especially
I had it,
if you die or something happens and they flip something around.
Exactly. I played a game where I was warding a bush and a Pantheon jumped on me and was like, bam, or whatever. And then he's standing at tower typing that in all chat, and my team jumped on him, and I said it back to him. And all of a sudden his team went fucking crazy in all chat. So just be careful. Like, it is, you are playing with fire. When you open that door, there are other people who know how to turn that right back around on you.
We got every sport. The same thing in every sport. People just they play
Absolutely.
it up. Right. But I want to bring this back and kind of, because we have talked about this one article for an entire hour, and I'm sure we could really blow it up. But the end of the article really does say just playing to have fun. You need to figure. You know what? Regardless of what this says, and I don't actually have it up anymore, but is that when you're playing the game, you need to figure out why you're playing it. Why do I want to play this game now? Do I want to play to get better? Do I just want to play to have fun with friends? Do I want to play to learn new strategies? There's, 12 to, 24 reasons to play this game, if not more. Figure out why you want to play this game. Figure out what you are going to learn. And if you're one of those players that has a competitive edge and has to get better, you need to figure out your ceiling. You need to figure out what your ceiling is. Mine is Street Fighter, for example. We're going to keep using that because it's the same. Mine is, I really like to play against my buddy Auslander, who is used to be a co-host of the podcast. I really like to play a game. I just want to get better than Auslander. I don't need to be 4,000 player point best at the game, tournaments, winning them, beating Daigo. I just need to beat Auslander. So you say the same thing yourself. I just want to be better than my support in the bottom lane, or I want to be as good as, like, if I was playing with Daze, I don't, this doesn't actually have to do anything with it, but I'd be like, I want to be so that Daze and I are on the same level 100% of the time. We play every night. I want to make sure that Daze and I are thinking at the same time, whether we win or lose. That's my strategy for the game. I want to make sure that or we're playing rank 5s. I want to win every rank 5s game that I have based on the strategy that we played. Figure it out. Figure out what to play. Play to win the game, but play to have fun.
So, have fun doing it.
And if you have fun and you're winning, that's even more fun.
Well, I mean, winning is the ultimate way to have fun.
Yeah.
And when we tell you that everybody has a skill ceiling and that there's a good chance you might not be an LCS player one day, before you decide that and before you give up, we've given you tons of resources. We've talked about Bronze Boot Camp and Battle Arena and mentoring and watching replays, Victorious Gaming. Before you decide that, utilize all of your resources, because there's a million of them out there, and you're not going to get better until you start using them, because there's a good chance that, especially if you've been where you are for a long time, you just don't understand what you're doing wrong. And having somebody watch your replay and pointing out those things might be enough to get you off that plateau. So just don't give up until you utilize all your your strategies.
I told my brother, who he played his account, he made it to Silver 2 somehow. And I looked at him dead in the eye, and I said, you're not a Silver 2 player, right? He's like, no, this is that. And I'm not trying to badmouth the kid, but he's 4-12 in his rank games. I'm sorry, but, whatever you ended up in, you might not actually be that. But what I said to him, I said, even if you made it to that point, I want you to admit to me that you're not a good player, okay? First and foremost, you're not a good player. Admit that to me. He said, I admit that to you. I said, okay, now I can work with you.
And since then, he's done Battle Arena.
Gotta break him down before you can build him up, Adam.
Right.
Right. But since then, he's joined Battle Arena. He added me on League and asked for some help learning support. That's the first step, is admitting you don't know everything, and then chase after the resources available to you, because there's a ridiculous amount of them.
Right. My point, and that 100%, that's what you need to do. My point is, he's been 4-12 in his rank games. In my mind, you're not Silver 2 at that point. You're probably Silver 5 bronze level. But you got lucky in your placements. For whatever reason, the ELO gods shine down upon you and put you that high. And there's people out there, there's tons of people. You guys write us in all the time and say the same thing. But you need to admit, I want you to look me in the eye and say, I am not good at this game. As soon as you admit that to me, I will help you get better at this game. But you
Not
need
good
to
at this
admit to
game.
me I'm not good.
And you need to admit also that if you have less than 100 games played in ranked, it's probably not showing your true elo. Because it's going to, you can't have 15 games in ranked and have any clue where you actually rank.
It's as high as even 1,000. Until you have 1,000 games played in ranked, you have no idea what your actual
I've
elo
played
is at.
50 ranked games this entire season. I made it as high as like 20 points into Plat 3 or something, and then I just decayed / dropped back down to Plat 5. I still don't know where I actually land. I think I could be Diamond if I actually put time in it, but I don't know because I don't have 500 games played like most people.
I'm looking.
Yeah, but
yeah, I think for this article, Dave's point earlier, playing to win and playing to learn are two different things. So don't think that you have to utilize, all the BM quote unquote strategies every single game. If you're doing some normals, you're just trying to learn a champ, learn the role, and there's a cheap move. Maybe you want to try something else and see how that works to fit into a certain team comp. Go ahead. We're not saying do it every game, but when you go into ranked queue, play to win. Because you're going into ranked, that's where you want to climb the ladder, get up there in the tiers.
You want to show off all the skills that you've made by doing everything else.
Go ahead, then play to win, and don't.
And you have to
put all that stuff aside.
Even if you don't understand or you don't want to play the split pushing or the cheese or the OP champions, you have to know how to counter them. When I was taught how to play StarCraft, that was the biggest thing. You don't have to cheese, but if you want to be good at the game, you have to know how to counter it. So it's the same thing here.
I had a buddy who, in StarCraft, at the beginning of the first season of Wings of Liberty, made it all the way up to Plat, which Diamond was the highest at the time, strictly from 6 pooling a Zerg, which basically means you drop your basic building, you build 6 Zerglings, and you either win the game in the first minute and a half, or you lose.
There's almost no coming back from that.
There were so many people who, the moment the Zerglings would show up, would just leave. Because they're like, fuck that. It's like if you survive that, the game's going to get so much easier for you to win.
just please don't be that guy in ranked queue who's like, first time victor.
Right.
In ranked. Come on.
Right.
You know what, you guys, everybody's listening live, everybody's listening to MP3. You guys learned so much tonight from us. The Trinity Force Network is giving you the opportunity to get better. We wouldn't do these episodes like this. And we're going to come back. I'm going to read the Serlin book now. I have it on my iPod. I started reading it today. I'm going to,
You're welcome.
Fuck you. It's actually, I've had so I brought it up to a couple of people like, I recommended that book to you. Auslander recommended it to me 6 years ago, apparently, and I didn't read it. So I
know, but you didn't read the first sentence when you saw that it was free online.
Yeah, I did it. I had it in my Amazon cart. But we're going to come back. We're going to talk about this again. I'm not saying next Monday or next Tuesday. We're definitely going to come back and talk about it again. All these guys out here are going to read the book. It's free online. If you get a chance, at least read the first, chapter. It's all of 20 pages or something. And my point is, figure out where you're at. Admit that you are good. Admit that you're bad. Admit that you need help. Admit that you don't. And then go use the resources that have been given to you by the Trinity Force Network. Somebody in chat, actually today, Salamancis said, Bronze Boot Camp used to be easy. When I was in Bronze, when I was playing it, I used to stomp on kids all the time. And now it's actually gotten hard. I have to actually try in Bronze Boot Camp. This is crazy.
That's progress.
If anything, that's a good thing. It just shows that the people you're playing with have gotten better, or you've gotten worse. But hopefully it's not that.
Toot our own horn. It's also shown that our advice has been helping people.
Someone just messaged me on the League client asking for the times and how to get involved with it. We should cover that.
TrinityForcePodcast.com. There's actually a bar across the top of TrinityForcePodcast.com. I swear to God, guys, there's a new page coming that's gonna have all this stuff. But TrinityForcePodcast.com. There's a bar across the top. So. Bronze boot camp. If you're in bronze or really low silver, we're talking like silver 5, because we understand that you kind of bleed over from bronze into silver 5. Noon Eastern Daylight Time, which is also, I think it's like, what's that, 9 or 10, it's 9 o'clock Pacific AM on the weekends / 11 AM Central on the weekends on Saturday until 4 o'clock. We do bronze boot camp. So if you're bronze and you want to play, you can go play that. You're only playing bronze and low silver players, and you're getting tips from people who have been in there and they understand how to play. Like, you can go listen to the last one. It's on youtube.com/tforcepodcast. If you want to play in Ballerina, Tuesdays or Thursdays. It's kind of up in the air. It depends on who's around. But normally it's on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You can go join the in-game chat channel, all these in-game chat channel, T-Force. Please join it right now. Go in your in-game chat channel and join that T-Force and play. And as we move forward, you guys can win RP. You can get better at this game. And like they said, we've actually had a hard time filling bronze boot camp. We've had to actually open up to silvers because a lot of the bronze players have made it into silver based on the information the bronze people have given. And you have no idea, like I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, but it makes me so excited and so happy that players
His EP grew 3 sizes in that statement.
Right.
Yeah, additionally, I think it's important, let's be honest here, when Adam says he wants you to admit that you're bad, it's because personally he feels good about himself when you say that to him. It's for his own personal enjoyment. He likes people telling him that they're bad.
Please tell me you're bad because I want to help you. I'm bad. Days, I'm bad. Please help me get a better ADC, please, for love.
You're a lost cause. That skill ceiling, you hit it a while ago.
Remember, kids, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Oh my god.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Dad DeClaude helping us out. No, but seriously, TrinityForcePodcast.com. There's a bar along the top of the screen. Just click it. It says click here. And it'll give you all the times and everything you need for boot camp and bronze boot camp, battle arena, EUS battle arena. Every single guy, every single shoutcaster, they do a fantastic job. Like, I can sit here and just throw praises at everybody all night. And I'm very happy to have this team together and all you guys and everybody. So please take advantage of what's given to you if you're listening to this podcast. I hope this episode of the podcast was very helpful to everybody. I'm sure everybody here could go on for the next 20, 30, 40 minutes and just scream at you and tell you how to get better at the game. But
that's why we have 2 episodes a week.
That's what that exactly. Really literally is. You know what's funny? Dom came out here, managed to get 2 episodes, and he split. Like, he's the reason we're doing 2 episodes a week, and now he's gone.
I know, right?
And now I got fucking Punchinello on the podcast.
The best part is,
after
talking to Dom, and like when he found out we were going to be talking about this article, he was like, God, just when I quit, you guys talk about it.
Well, we bring on the not-so-handsome Anello, and he doesn't even fucking talk during the entire episode.
He'll get there. It takes a little bit.
It's those early podcast jitters.
Once he gets the camera on him and he's in the spotlight, he'll open up.
It'll be the camera. Like, it'll be here by Monday.
I think I'll be
Adam will just stare at Punch's video the whole time, and he'll just shut up because he'll be so like enamored with it.
I'll just be staring at the camera the whole time.
Punch, can we interlock eyes?
Watching it watch me.
Can we interlock eyes during the podcast?
Can't wait.
Punch,
can
you so creepy. So creepy.
Hey, Punch could just come over here and we can hold hands.
Yeah, please sit on each other's lap one day.
Yeah, why not? Let's do that.
All right, guys. Don't forget to go check out the Gatherers Granola Facebook. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We're going to talk more about the Sailing article as we go forward. Probably next Monday, we are going to do a couple more listener questions, barring that there's no crazy PBE changes. If you haven't noticed that also the PBE changes for the map are coming out. Here at Team Builder, we'll probably talk about that a little bit. But otherwise, expect quite a bit of off-kilter Trinity Force for the next couple months as we wait for the PBE changes to really hit. So that's episode number 207 of the Trinity Force podcast. I appreciate everybody. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you all on Monday.
See you
guys. Bye.